Hello, everyone. This is Auto Asphyxiation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly.
That's right. We were kind of hanging out, not hanging out, but we talked about Forrester last time, and I think in a way it was a little ranty on my end, but I just started thinking about stuff, and I started thinking about the 3 feet campaign, and just kind of like how the Ghost of Forrester has really impacted how we do bicycling in the United States. And what I want to talk about now is how useless the 3 feet campaign is. And I should say this. I know New Jersey is 4 feet. Oh, okay, all right. So that's an improvement.
It's an
I
extra
guess
special foot.
extra special foot. And it's kind of like this is what I have to say. Physics, they don't care about your feelings. I mean, and also too, okay, so the average lane, like in the average, I guess lane's like 10 to 12 feet. And the driver going, so I guess the whole idea between the 3 feet or 4 feet is, is that people are going 35, people are going the speed limit, and if you see a bicyclist, you're supposed to give them 3 to 4 feet or more or less get out of the lane, right? Because I'm thinking that would make more sense, right?
Yeah.
Um, like this company, like Ashto, they essentially say that designers should. And here's the thing I think is really interesting. We always say in planning we shouldn't make our lanes wide, because if you make the lanes wide, then people will drive quickly. But now you're saying they should make the lanes wider so that people can get, because apparently the ideally you want to have this 5 feet. 5 feet's what you want. Yeah, we're just being and I'm like, what? So the goal here is 5 feet. So kind of like, because that's kind of like in New Jersey. They're like, see, we're doing better than the 3 feet because we're doing 4 feet, because actually the idea would be 5 feet, which would be so. I'm not trying to be like this is ridiculous, but what exactly? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I first of all, I want to ask the people that put out the 3 feet campaign. I want to know how we're supposed to navigate on a bike with with this allowance from cars, but there's never that allowance from cars because of the way that people drive, the double parking that occurs all of the time. There was a study years ago, I'll try to find it and send it to you, but there was a study years ago that found that drivers are actually less cautious around bicyclists that have helmets on because of the perceived safety that the helmet brings the bicyclist. I'm not speaking poorly on helmets. You should obviously wear a helmet when you're riding your bike. But psychologically, it sends a message to drivers that you're safe, so they don't give you nearly as much space as they are supposed to.
Yeah, and I want to let people know that I don't wear a helmet, but you should. Everyone tells me that. My husband and Kimberly, everyone tells me I should wear a helmet. Um, and I don't know. I feel like I don't know why I just don't. Um,
We're children of like the feral like 80s and 90s where like if you wore a helmet you were made fun of. So those scars they're deep. I understand.
they are there. I'm too cool for a helmet. Anyway, so the NHTSA says that it's really the 3 feet laws are pretty mixed in regards to are they safer. Essentially, the 5 feet ordinances perform better, but I haven't seen. Okay, the best New Jersey has the strongest one, but in New Jersey, people probably ride their bikes less than in New York or even in California, unless you're a delivery driver. And other than that, I mean, even there, it's like it's very. I just feel like in a way, this whole like slow down, move over, that kind of it's I don't believe that it's something that's realistic in a real world situation. I mean, I think this is it is the challenge here. We are talking about changing people's educational like education like okay, we essentially are making it so that people have to they have to on their own make a good decision. Like we're not doing infrastructure changes, we're not doing system changes. What we're doing is hope you make a good choice. Good luck.
And that just doesn't work because, as you're driving, and speaking as a person driving around the streets of Essex County, as a driver here, there is so much to look out for. Double parked cars, people just pulling out of an alleyway, people backing out of their driveway, people parallel parking, people that just decide now is the time to cross the street right here where there's no pedestrian lane. So, like, to add yet another responsibility on to a driver on our already narrow streets that don't have protected bike lanes, it's nearly impossible.
Well, also too, it's this kind of a culture war on wheels. And really, if you are a driver, you drive slow, people scream at you. I have almost been, rear-ended because I stopped for someone in the crosswalk. Now here's the thing, and yeah, that shouldn't be happening. But our streets are designed in a way that it's built for speed, and people who drive like my husband drives the speed limit. He's from Wisconsin. He drives the speed limit, and people curse at us. They curse at us. They scream at us. He stops when people are at the intersection because actually, technically, any intersection is a crosswalk. So
Yes.
any intersection that you go to, you can cross the street. My husband stops at each one, and each time the people behind him are screaming bloody murder. They're really upset. There's like this premium on like go, go, go. And this is like whatever you were trying to do in regards to the whole behavior, that's not working.
No.
And this whole like, oh, what you need to do is do the Forrester thing and just take the lane. Like you need to take the lane, and it doesn't matter like how old you are, doesn't matter what street it is. This is, and it's kind of like, okay, instead of doing infrastructure, instead of doing infrastructure, instead of doing system changing, it's like, okay, let's make it so that we're encouraging people to go back to work now. So we're kind of like, well, we don't like the remote work, so we're encouraging people to go to work. We're encouraging people to use their car to go to work, because if you're in New Jersey, even to get to the public transit, to get to the trains, to get to the greenway, you're driving there. You're driving there. And it apparently like there's no substitute for infrastructure. And I think that this is the problem. Like, and I don't want to like shame anyone, but we essentially have advocacy groups, especially in New Jersey, that focus almost exclusively on education, exclusively on defensive driving, and exclusively on like, well, if the driver makes a mistake, we could just give them a ticket. This is really not endearing us I mean, what kind of PR campaign is this? Is it where essentially, um, you know, because really a bike lane will reduce fatalities by 53%. So I don't understand why we're like, well, before we get that, we need to do the 3 feet. I mean, are we trying to collect death data here? I'm not trying to be negative, but it seems like you want people to get run over so you can say, see, what we need is a protected bike lane, because I can't see you encouraging people to go out and ride their bikes on streets with no infrastructure. And then you kind of go, well, we have this 3 feet law, so if somebody runs you over, it was their fault. I mean, what's the end game here, to get people to get run over so that you can say that bike lanes are we need
I think
the
that
bike
it
lane?
is. I think that it is. That's something that you and I have talked about before, about the liability of situations. Like where like, if the car manufacturer determines that this fatal flaw will cost more to fix than it will cost for them to lay out money in settlements, then they don't do a recall to do that fix. And I think that our cities and our city planners do the same thing. I think they're seeing how many people are going to get hurt versus the cost of the bike lane.
Well, here another thing too, like when you have the take the lane 3 feet, or in New Jersey case 4 feet, in NHTSA synthesis, like it's mixed empirical data. The passing distance laws change behavior somewhat, but street geometry overwhelms law effects. 5 feet local laws outperform 3 feet, which suggests the law alone is weak and can become a blame shift when infrastructure is absent. So you're not even helping. You're essentially giving more kind of like, oh, but people who drive the cars are evil, rather than, I like the whole like evil and good and all this stuff, but it's really the infrastructure that is evil. And then we're kind of like we're putting that on like grandma shouldn't drive. That's another thing too. Anytime there's a car crash and something horrific happens, they go, oh, and this person was 80 years old. Okay, the light rail by my house, they have no seats. So essentially, you have to stand and wait for the light rail because they would rather. I'm just saying, there's nowhere for you to sit. It's a long kind of like. Well, I mean, you're telling people you want to blame seniors for when they get into car crashes for driving their car, but yet you don't set up our streets that are senior. If you're sick or if you're disabled or if you can't walk as fast, if you can't stand a long time, the buses, how frequently do the buses come out here? Like every 30 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. And there's path stations that are like that as well. Like the Harrison Path station only has like a couple of benches and it's a really big building where you either have to go up an escalator, stairs, or use an elevator. Like I can't imagine, like, I'm already having difficulties sometimes with my chronic illness, getting around, standing up for long periods of time. Like, so I can't even imagine what it would be like for somebody who's in their 80s, who's with it cognitively. But, as you get older, your reflexes do slow down to some extent. And having to, like, drive around and navigate all these narrow, crowded streets in Essex County at that age must be terrifying.
And we could have, this could just, cause people always often talk about, oh, this is about people who don't have any money, et cetera, et cetera. This could be about people who just don't want to drive their car and just would like to have a nice, pleasant experience on public transit. I mean, another thing too, when I have taken the bus out here, it's typically really crowded. Okay, it takes a while for the buses to come. They come every 15 to 20 minutes, which is too long for a bus. At off peak hours, every 30 minutes, some
Ugh.
places every hour. Not as bad as Los Angeles, but if you are a person with a good retirement, with a certain amount of income, you don't want to do that. You don't want to sit by a trash can. There's another bus that's by my house. It's by a dumpster. Okay, it's
Yeah.
by a literal dumpster. If you have financial like you have the finances, you are probably going to pick driving your car, horrible as it is. But you can't tell people they should be sacrificing. Because I'll tell you this way, when men are on the Upper East Side, they don't have to sacrifice. That train comes every 5 minutes and they have a place to sit. They have a place to get coffee. They have a place, to drink and have alcohol before they get on the train, before they can relax. They don't expect, they have bathrooms. This is the thing too. You get to a certain age, put away, women always, people who have vaginas always need a bathroom. Always need a
Always.
bathroom because if you have a menstrual cycle, you need a bathroom. You're pregnant, you need a bathroom. You get older and your bladder gets all weird. Whatever happens, you need a bathroom.
Or if you're a mom and you're taking your kids around, or a dad and you're taking your kids around and you need some place to change your toddler or your infant, like that's also something that like you don't think about. Well, I don't think about a lot with is that, it's monstrous to try to take your kids around anywhere and use public transportation in New Jersey.
Yeah, and this is the thing is that when you have, it's essentially, it's just performative. You have all of these, this 3 feet. You have, oh, people shouldn't drive unsafely. People should do this. People should do that. But you have no infrastructure, meaning you have no public transit. You have no protected bike lanes. You have no bathrooms. You have no places for pedestrian. You spend all of your time on performative, like explaining safety to avoid spending money. It's easier to say, oh, 3 feet than to actually put up some infrastructure. And then because we essentially the whole bicycling pedestrian development is all a circle jerk because they're all Forrester disciples, even though they say they're not. How are you not a Forrester disciple when essentially you spend every week, every like monthly, you spend hours teaching people how to ride bicycles instead of making policy that worked, instead of making infrastructure policy that worked. You spend hours educating people on 3 feet and 4 feet, hours educating people on riding their bicycle. Now we got people, oh, we got to teach your kids how to ride electric bikes. You do literally anything under the sun, but make it so that we that but put the whole our policymakers to the fire and tell them we need infrastructure. I don't want another performative law. This is gaslighting as transportation policy. The road is not rational. And why are we pretending that it is?
Exactly. It's futile, in my opinion, to try to take people, adults who have already been driving for 10 or 15 years or what have you, and then try to reframe an entire subset of the transportation to train them to look out for bicyclists when, as I said before, you have so much that you have to look out for, especially in tightly packed Essex County. It's just not possible. And as you know, New Jersey drivers are some of the most aggressive drivers in the country.
Yeah, and I think this is the whole thing. It's that we know just how humans naturally act. Okay, so you're sitting there and you're on Bloomfield Avenue, and essentially you're setting up a situation where, we're supposed to be sharing the road with cyclists, with scooter people, with like we're supposed to be sharing all the road, the sidewalk, everything. Everybody's supposed to be sharing everything. And we know what happens. People start jockeying for space. People start jockeying for power. This should become like a behavior type situation. And also, too, I'll tell you something. If you're a woman, depending on the if people can see that you're a woman, or they can perceive that you're not a person, you're not a man, they're going to act way different when you do certain things on the road, even when you're trying to drive and you're trying to drive nicely, or even if, riding a bike. They're going to have an entirely different set of expectations, and people are going to act a completely different way than if you're a man. I mean, I think this is something that's really kind of interesting. Like something I noticed when I was kind of like when I've driven around here, that I feel like I'm in this weird bind to kind of talk about that kind of a double situation where I'm a woman and I'm a person of color. I'm a woman and I'm a black woman. I'm a visual black woman. And essentially it's like, okay, if I drive fast, the police are going to get me. But if I drive too slow, then I get to hear people give me all kinds of interesting like racial slurs for driving too slow. Like and I don't think that, maybe, I don't know if everyone has that experience, but people will quickly go to my gender and my race if I'm in my car and I'm not driving fast enough, or even if I'm on my bike and I'm doing things the way that they don't like. Oh, you stupid bitch. I mean, it's something that happens, and people act like this is not something that's going on. Like this is
I've
not
been
something. Go ahead.
followed. I've been followed places. There, I have one of my favorite stories about my mother. My mother grew up in New York City, so my mother didn't have a driver's license until we moved to New Jersey. And my mom was not the worst driver, but she certainly wasn't as aggressive as New Jersey likes its drivers to be. And when I was in eighth grade, my mom, who'd only had her driver's license for a few years, we were going to the mall, and my mom accidentally cut off a man. And she did the driver wave, like, because he honked his horn, and, like, she was genuinely sorry, like, that she cut this guy off. That man followed my mother with two adolescent girls in the car to the mall. And as we started walking, we parked our car, and as we started walking to the mall, he got out of his car and he started coming after my mother. Now,
That
my
is just
mom,
terrifying. Go ahead.
now my mom was no weeping little flower of a woman. She was teeny tiny. She was about my height. But my mom went up to that man because he yelled to us, go back to Jersey because we happened to be in Pennsylvania. And my mother whipped around and she looked at him and she said, I'm not from New Jersey. I'm from the fucking Bronx. And she went after that guy must have been like 6'4". He was gigantic. The best part of the whole story is that while my mom was reading this guy for filth in a public parking lot, she also had a sweatshirt on that said, I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Oh my god! And I think that's just probably I've seen pictures of your mom, and she was like so adorable. So he probably was like, "What is going on?" And
Yep.
that's the thing too. She's small, and so they think, "Oh, okay, I can just come after you." I mean, I think this is the thing. You're putting people in these, vulnerable road users. They're talking about this. I think his name is Alexander Rosh. He was talking about like driver safety margin collapses with oncoming traffic. Perceived and objective safety vary by, it's these kinds of situations really impact how people act. And we are really essentially using the individual instead of using, I mean, we could use systems, and we're not using these systems that they use in other countries. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, we know that in Dutch, they use a cohesion, um, directness, safety, comfort, and attractiveness. Like their framework, like they have different framework of. I hope I did that right, but they have 5 design principles that are much different than with the United States, where it's almost about like, yeah, we need to like take the lane, because they're still doing that in driver's training. I've seen them. I've been around where they're still doing this. They're still having this idea where we need to be aggressive. We need to. No, you shouldn't have to be aggressive. That's not how you should be riding your bike. Nowhere, there's no country that people do that. I mean, I think that this is it isn't. It's not really conductive, or not productive to essentially continue to not not view infrastructure as the most important thing. I think we have long enough. I think we have long enough talked about education, talked about cameras, talked about, the 3 feet, the 4 feet, the 5 feet. We have done that enough. In New Jersey, we still can't ride our bicycles in the park. Okay. We still, have situations where, if somebody runs you over, it's on you. You better have your own insurance. You have your own insurance, because, it doesn't, their car insurance doesn't cover you. I forgot how it goes, but we have this really weird law in New Jersey where if you get hit and you're on your bike, then that's on you. You're supposed to have your own auto insurance to cover cover you.
Yeah.
And we have for too long, we have this situation where it's education and carceral punishment. We don't think we have to do anything. Well, we could just throw people in jail and then give them tickets and then educate people. Then New Jersey will be a safe place to bicycle. I'm actually like, no, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Or you want us to collect, and this is something that I'm really upset about, this idea, that I feel that so many people who are in bicycling advocacy, they'll ask me to like do bicycle rides in like Newark or East Orange or places that where African American and Latino kids live, working class kids live. And I'm like, do you want me to tell them that it's okay for them to ride their bikes in this infrastructure? Do you want me to essentially do you need me to collect death data? Do you want me to be part of that? Because why do you need me to do it? Oh, because I'm black. No. Now, this is the thing that's so funny. Like, okay, I'm a person with a degree in economics. I'm a person with a degree in public policy. But you think my role in this is not to talk about how we should figure out ways that we can pay for, because we do. There are ways we can pay for the infrastructure to keep people safe. We can pay to get people to more buses. We are subsidizing car owners. We are subsidizing automobiles. We are subsidizing oil. We are subsidizing war. We can take that money and we could subsidize climate friendly transportation policies. We can take, we can have more buses. We essentially, the whole idea that New Jersey exists to get to Manhattan is completely, it's nonsense. I think people should be able to ride their bicycles to school. People should be
Yeah.
able to ride their bicycles to the grocery store. And then people are like, well, they can. They could just ride on the street. No, but see, they can't. That's the whole thing.
It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Like I was driving to work the other day and there was a bicyclist and like he was following all of the traffic laws, like he was using hand signals even, which you hardly ever see anybody do. But I gave him a wide berth, but other people didn't. Like, it's just not feasible. It's so dangerous. You're unprotected on a bicycle. And we keep pushing infrastructure for cars, infrastructure for cars, infrastructure for cars. New Jersey is not a stop on your way to Manhattan. New Jersey has its own vibrant culture and its own really interesting people, and we deserve protected bike lanes around our counties and cities so that we can get from point A to point B without having to pollute more things or densely pack the roads more.
And I'm sorry, like the Greenway, all that stuff. People are going to drive their cars to get to that. And to me, if that is what's happening, you're creating a park where people drive their cars to get to. You have failed. What kind of bicycle advocacy is essentially encouraging people to drive out to a park? What is this? We why can't we have situations where we're driving, where we have bike lanes to Branch Brook Park, where we have bike lanes to our parks, to places to go to our to Penn Station. Essentially, we have this situation where we're pretending that the road is rational. We are essentially using education to gaslight vulnerable road users. And I know we don't want to use the term vulnerable, but if a 2-ton car is coming towards you, you are vulnerable. This isn't like, oh, well, you're just being negative. You're just being like you're essentially blame is cheaper than concrete. You're playing around. I hate these games that people are playing with me.
I got hit on by a car when I was on my bike when I was a kid. Like I had like a little BMX bike, like for doing tricks and stuff. And I came out of a side street and this guy just came tearing down the road, knocked me off my bike. It was amazing that not that I didn't get hurt and that my bike didn't get hurt, but I it certainly knocked the wind out of me.
No, it is, and it's I have been in a crash, on my bicycle. I've been in like 3 crashes on my bicycle. Luckily not out here in New Jersey. Even though the fact of the matter is, I ride my bike 3 times a week, into Newark, from where I am, and this is not a task that it is a easy task because essentially it's illegal for me to ride in the park, and I do. Um, and it's illegal, yeah. But it's also essentially like I'm if I'm riding on Bloomfield and you want me to ride on the side streets, I don't want to. And this is all I want to get to work as quickly as I can get to it. And each way I go, either I have to risk death or risk breaking the law. And the thing is, I don't feel like that anyone else should have to do what I'm doing. I don't feel that anyone else needs to be doing that. And I think that we're in a situation where a lot of us, especially in the whole bicycling world, we're kind of very into the whole macho man type thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of us who are women, we don't want to show like, oh, we're weak. Or we don't we want to show we could do just like the guys do. I can ride my bike just like, but the thing is that that's not a guy thing. That is a person who is a masochist. That's not a
Yes.
guy. That's not a guy. That's not what we take that kind of dude and we make it seem like, well, that's how you're supposed to be acting if you're
Well,
riding a bike, because that was what Forrester did, and we essentially put that on everybody. But all of us in cycling, we're guilty of it because instead of like kind of like with me, oh, I don't have a helmet. I know how this place is, and I'm not wearing a helmet. I'm riding on Bloomfield Avenue. I'm doing all these things. I really, like, what's wrong with me? And I think it's because A part of me is like, look, I'm just like the guys, but why do I want to be just like these people?
Exactly. That's the thing that happens in so many different aspects of American culture where the quote unquote right way to do it is the masochistic way to do it that works fine for men, but if you're a woman, like I just imagine that if I was on a bike and I was aggressively driving around Essex County on my bicycle, I feel like that would get me run down a lot faster.
It will get you run down a lot. And that's the thing. I think that's the thing too. The thing is so funny is that me acting this way, as you know, has gotten me losing my, I was supposed to be the president of a bicycle organization for free. And essentially I was not able to be it because I was too aggressive. They were like, you're not a good example. I want to ride my bike to work instead of, just having bike rides for children. So I'm not a good example on how to, and which is kind of funny. It's like, they want you to be aggressive in some aspects. But if you take that aggression and you go, I want to have infrastructure, I want to not do this, I don't want to essentially be a bicycle school for children. I don't want to like that's not exactly what I want to do. I mean, we have the Dutch Crow design manual for bicycle infrastructure that we could use. And I feel like we're still not using it. I feel like we're still, we're not using cohesion, directiveness, safety, comfort, attractiveness. These are not things that we are putting into use in order to create our infrastructure or organizations. Our organizations in New Jersey, in California, they all look like roadies. They all are
Yep.
set up by roadies with their spandex on and their whole like, take the lane. And I think this is, we need to have a conversation. And I think is that, the next time we talk, what we're going to do is we're going to actually talk about some infrastructure helps, some design issues that actually would make a difference and really create a situation where we can have an actual bike culture that is more than just children's rides and fundraisers, because essentially
Yeah.
this is what bicycle culture is in New Jersey, and well, in New Jersey especially, it's children's rides and rallies to raise money for various organizations. It's like people who do the jogging thing and they want to like do the jogging and they do that to, how they make money, they do
Yeah.
marathons.
Yeah.
I don't this is not a hobby for me. Like bicycle is how I get to work. It's not a hobby. And I can't, I don't understand why I'm still, we're still doing all of this performative nonsense.
Well, and that's the thing is that like it's not, it is a hobby for some people and there's space for them in the cycling community, but it seems like in New Jersey, the recreational bicyclists who are acting in that Forester ethos about being roadies, they're just looking for something to do on the weekends. They're not advocating for actual infrastructure that enables people to use their bicycles to get to and from work and to and from whatever it is that they want to do. They're being road warriors for weekend marathons.
And I think this is a problem. I think people who are bicycle advocates, I think, they should ride bikes to work, not just on the rallies. They should be riding their bike to work. I feel like, I mean, I'm not an advocate. I'm not doing that because clearly they don't want me to do that. But I feel I want the people who are advocating for me. I want you on a bike. I want you to ride a bike. I want you, when you go to your meetings, I want you to have gotten there by bicycle. I
Yeah.
don't want you to just like to me, I how am I supposed to like listen, to people who don't ride bikes, aren't urban planners, aren't engineers. What exactly, what is your credential? You can raise money. Well, you know what? We're beyond that now. I think I think the thing is that you've had 20, 30 years to raise all the money you need to raise. Call your thing something else. Call it, recreational New Jersey advocates. Fine.
Road
But it,
warriors in spandex.
exactly, because whatever you're doing right now is not working. It's not working because
It's
I'm still the only person on a bike in the area that I am in. And I don't understand that. I don't understand why I'm the only woman that is not delivering food that's on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Why is that? That's weird.
It is weird. It is weird. It doesn't, New Jersey actively seems to punish women that want to get around on bicycles. Like, and the other cyclists in the community also seem like they want to punish women that want to use their bicycles to get around. Like, it's just it's it's such a mess because they're really putting their money in the wrong pocket.
Exactly. And with that, we are going to wrap this up, and we hope that you listen to our conversations because we're talking. We will be talking about solutions at one point, but you know what? Everything can't be solution. Okay, I get it. Solution journalism, that's a whole big thing. That's not what we do here. Okay, we do actual we do criticism. We do urban criticism. I hope you're okay with that. Sorry if you want everything to be happy and flowers. That's not us.
And if you have ideas, if you have something that you think that would work in the public infrastructure for bicycle safety, leave us a great comment.
Exactly. We want to hear comments that work that are not just based on behaviorism. We want to hear like what are some infrastructure fixes or what are some economic policies or economic, scenarios that you could see that could help us like essentially do some real infrastructure. Where do you want to see a bike lane? Like what are the streets that you want to see a bike lane? Which how do you get to work and what would make you get on your bike and instead of taking the car to get to the train or taking your car to work, what would make you use your bicycle instead? Because I'd be curious to know about that.
Yes, I would too. I would too.
Okay. And with that, you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening.
I put yes. Yes. I'm sure I want to stop. Try yes. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to. This is. Oh no.